Salute, my Quickclassics friends. Uh, Doing a little series this week, actually the last couple of weeks, on the Greek god, or the alleged Greek god Pan, on my Antiquity X channel. And so I thought I would weigh in on the Greek context of the god Pan. And as always, if you like the content, click a like, subscribe, and share. And as I say, most of the work that I've been doing, not only my own research, but in these last couple of episodes on my programs, has been on the Eastern origins, or what I believe to be the Near Eastern origins of the god Pan. And I think there's a good case to be made for that. And if you're interested in that, you can check out those episodes on Antiquity X. But today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Greek context of Pan. And there's probably no better place to start than the Homeric hymn to Pan, uh, uh, hymn number 19 in the Homeric hymns. And you can go online and find those. And you get a pretty good description of what many of you will know already about Pan, this half god, or excuse me, half man, half goat deity, whose haunts were the mountains and streams and woods, allegedly of Arcadia. So you can see why Greeks that came through the Levantine regions, such as that at PANEAS at the foot of Mount Hermon, would have thought that this would have been a place where Pan would have frolicked and haunted. And Homer gives us a pretty good description of not only the haunts and nature of Pan, but his parentage, Hermes, the god Hermes, and Dryops, and sometimes other stories reference the goddess Maya as Pan's mother. But again, you get a really good description of the god Pan and his parentage in the Homeric hymn. Now, there are a couple of possibilities in terms of the etymology of Pan's name within the Greek context, and one of those is the traditional one, pantes, which is the Greek word for all or everything. It's uh, you'll be familiar with the prefix pan. If you put pan in front of anything, it generally means all. And although Pan was a specialized god initially, Pan does sort of represent the attributes of many deities in the Roman era. The other uh, potential etymological source of Pan's name is another theory that's gaining momentum and popularity among scholars. Is its source in an older Greek word, paon, pi alpha omicron nu, which is can mean shepherd, but it can also mean a general pastoralist. Either one of these may be the case. The latter may be the case as Pan took on a Roman identity. The satyrs or Pans were called fauns in Roman mythology, and you can see the linguistic similarity between paon and faun. So there may be some connective tissue there. And Pan's rites began in the late spring, or excuse me, the late winter, early spring, in the Greek context. And when the Romans took over the Greek world, the Pan's main festival was the Lupercalia, which took place on February the 15th. And many of the rites remain similar. It was a pastoral uh, celebration, although in its Roman context, interestingly enough, as a footnote to that, the Lupercalia was to ward off these werewolf creatures. No, I'm not kidding. The Romans believed in werewolves. So um, now, if you want a better look at what some of these rites were, you can, as far as primary source material, you can read. There's certainly Greek sources, but they're very episodic. You actually get a better description of these rites from works like Ovid's Fasti, which you can check out online as well. There are a number of good translations. One of the older ones is James Frazer's translation, which is a decent one. Um, at any rate, we know that Pan's public worship persisted at least until the 5th century A.D. And it's thereafter as Christianity became the most widespread religion in the Mediterranean basin that Pan's cult secedes back into the shadows. Although I'm hesitant to say that it disappeared altogether, because if you read works by scholars like Frank Trombley who talk about the persistence of Greek paganism in the East, uh, even not just into Byzantine times, but also in some cases into the Islamic era. There are sources recounting that some of the old Egyptian and Greek gods were being worshipped in very remote areas of Egypt as late as the 8th and 9th centuries AD. So some of these ideas persisted very, very long. But if you read works like papers by scholars like T.P. Wiseman, you get a good picture of how persistent the cult of Pan actually was. There are a couple of other things that I wanted to mention that tie Pan's, let's say, Greekiness back to some Near Eastern origins, and you can do that by looking at words related to Pan, like, for instance, the Ix, which was the goat-hided shield that Pan gave to Zeus, and words like Agapan, which is essentially the Greek word for the later Capricorn, an image, of course, that is associated with Pan. And both of these are phonetically similar to the words or elements of words, names that are used for goat gods in the ancient Near East. Whether you start with the Enochian references to Azazel, the goat of God, or the biblical references to the atonement sacrifice, the Azazel goat. Odds and Uds are Semitic words that mean goat. You have deities like Adzaga that the Amorites worshipped, uh, that were goat related. So when you compare words like Ix and Igi to the uh, Near Eastern deities whose names contain these elements like Azazel, Odds, Uds, Adzaga, there seems to be some connective tissue there in my mind, uh, particularly when you consider that um, references to Pan and the satyrs post-date by centuries the knowledge of and the appearance of these goat deities in ancient Near Eastern literature and tradition by centuries. They postdated by centuries. So the precedent is there when you factor in elements like Orientalizing, the influence culturally, economically, linguistically, religiously uh, that the Levant and the ancient Near East had on the Greek world, largely because of trade. When you factor those things in too, this thesis about the Eastern origins of Pan begins to take on the hue of not only possibility but probability. But today on Quick Classics, I wanted to concentrate a little bit more on as I said, the Greekiness of Pan. So, if you're interested in not only the Greek attributes of Pan, but also potential Eastern origins. I write about this in my book, PANEAS, Religion in the Ancient City of Pan, which is on sale this week. You can also check out Institute classes where we deal with related mythologies. And if you're interested in the Greek world and the classics, I'll be doing a new episode of my Dune and Beyond series in which I look at the connections between the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, and the Atreides family. So, stay tuned again. Thank you for your support. Click a like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you soon. Godspeed.